Hello, welcome to my talk and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph Mbele. I always introduce myself that way. I'm a Tanzanian. I teach here at St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota, here in the United States. I'm in the English department. I've taught here since 1991, and before that I taught at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, my country. I am a Tanzanian. I have a YouTube channel. I like recording and posting videos about different topics: education, culture, writing, books, globalization, and so on. Especially actually cultural differences and their impact in the world. I focus mostly on Americans and Africans. Today I've decided to talk about something that has become very current here in the United States. There was recently a presidential debate between two candidates, former President Donald Trump and the current Vice President Kamala Harris. There was a debate, and during the debate, former President Trump was talking about how immigrants are ruining the United States, and he has been doing this, he's been saying this for quite a while. I guess all the time he was president, he was railing against immigrants. But on this particular day, during the debate, he gave an example of a city in Ohio, Springfield in Ohio. And they said in that city, you have all these immigrants from Haiti. And he went on and said, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people who live there. These statements have become extremely well known, and people have created jokes and even a musical performance. I've watched some amazing musical performance of this phrase. These phrases: they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets. First, the story has come out, that it's just a rumor that the Haitians in Springfield eat dogs and pets. There's a rumor, and it spread like a wildfire, and then presidential candidate Donald Trump picked it up and presented it as fact. So that's the first thing to say about this. Of course, from an American point of view, or to Americans, this is horrible. I know how they love their pets. I know, and I've talked about this, how Americans care, for their pets, their dogs, cats, or whatever it is. In fact, in my one of my books, I've talked about this, contrasting African ways and American ways. It's this book here, Africans and Americans Embracing Cultural Differences. There's a chapter here I think it's the chapter titled The Home, where I talk about how in American homes you are likely to find a pet of some kind, a dog, a cat, or something else. And I talk about how Americans treat their pets, how they adore them. So the idea of people eating dogs, eating people's pets, is abominable. And I think President Trump used that statement to great effect. To get people to resent these people who eat dogs and cats and pets. As a cultural consultant, I find this interesting, and that's why I want to talk about it a little bit. As I've said, if you grew up in this country, you're an American, you adore your cats, you take care of them very well, you pamper them. The idea of somebody eating a dog is alien and shocking, I would say. The idea of somebody eating a cat, likewise. But the reality is this. If you grew up in another part of the world, in a different culture, you grew up, with, different foods. And it's not just foods. It's all kinds of things. A different way of talking, a different language, different behavior, different values. And the values, the ways you grow up in are normal to you. The food, the dress, the way of dressing, the way of talking, the way of behaving. It's normal in your culture. It's the acceptable thing to do. Unfortunately, and I say this again and again in my books, especially in this book, unfortunately, we all are conditioned to assume that what is normal in our culture, and we don't even think about it. We tend to assume that that's the norm for the whole world, and we get the shock of our lives when we go into a different culture. So, the foods Americans eat, for example, they are normal to the Americans, and Americans don't even think about them. They're just normal. You go and eat something. You go to the restaurant. Everything is, the right thing. But somebody coming from another culture, is likely to be puzzled or shocked, to see what kinds of things Americans eat. We need to keep this in mind. A foreigner in the USA, is likely to find American foods very strange, very odd, absolutely. We just have to acknowledge that. And so there are cultures, around the world which eat all kinds of things. Different cultures, are different in terms of the things they eat, as well as in terms of other things. Some eat monkeys. Yeah, there are some in Africa, in the equatorial region, in the equatorial forests, they eat monkeys. I've not seen this, but I've heard, they do. I know some people in the world eat snails. Some eat frogs. Yes. Who knows? Maybe some eat snakes. So you can go to any culture and you'll find great, surprises, or you can be really shocked. I think It was in in Finland. I was in Finland. If I'm not mistaken, they said they eat some kind of raw fish. I couldn't touch those types of fish. Raw fish, no. So somebody coming to the USA, for example, and seeing Americans eating salad, I guess anybody from my culture would be shocked, because we don't eat raw leaves. So anybody from my country or my culture who comes here, they'll be really surprised, they'll be put off by the fact that Americans eat raw leaves. We don't eat raw leaves where I come from. Everything is cooked. So that puts into context the whole idea of people eating cats, people eating dogs. Yes, it's a shock, but it's important to remember that what is normal to you is not necessarily normal to people of other cultures. And that really sums up the main point of my writings. I give a lot of examples of the many different things that exist, in the American culture as compared to the African culture. That's the subject of this book, which I published in 2005, Africans and Americans, Embracing Cultural Differences. I touch on many things, how Africans, approach conversation, money, time, food, all kinds of things. And then I wrote a sequel, published it in 2021, Chickens in the Bus, More Thoughts on Cultural Differences. It continues the trajectory of the first book, adding some detail and bringing some further clarification of things I had mentioned in the previous book. I've even given a talk, maybe twice, here at St. Olaf College, where I teach, and I guess somewhere else, I forget where. And the title was, My Culture is Weird, and So is Yours. That sums up my message for today, that we may look at what people do in another culture. We may be shocked, we may be puzzled, we may be amused, but let's keep in mind, when people from a different culture come into our culture, they undergo similar experiences. They could be intrigued or amused or disgusted. Absolutely, they could be appalled. I guess that should teach us humility. And that's the main goal of my work as a cultural consultant, to make us all realize that our cultures, may be natural and normal to us, but they may not be necessarily, to somebody from another culture. That should teach us some humility. And that's what I wanted to say today on the topic of they eat dogs, they eat cats, they eat the pets of the people who live in Springfield, Ohio. That's it for today. I welcome you to follow my channel, my YouTube channel, and I wish you a very nice day.